So you're handcuffed to a hospital bed. Your mom's looking at you. Right then and there, you just decide, this is it. I don't want to do this anymore.
My father was dying in my arms, and every time I gave him morphine, I'd drink the rest of the bottle myself.
Where did your entrepreneurial journey actually start?
Tell me that.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Cashflow Cartel podcast, where we share our stories with entrepreneurship and whatever's on our hearts and minds. I'm here with Tariq Chaudhry. Welcome on, brother.
Thank you, Alejandro. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, little backstory. We just met at a mastermind yesterday, and today we're on a podcast. So when the stars align, we just got to make it happen.
And man, God takes you somewhere, you go where he takes you, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself right now and what you do right now.
Right now, I do small business, life, and transformational coaching. Ideally, one of my clients is someone in all three areas. I typically have thus far started out doing spiritual coaching with high-level entrepreneurs and business owners that results in more leaning into the transformational business coaching.
Awesome.
So I do cultural transformations for entrepreneurs and small business owners who are looking to really elevate and scale their business, but I do it through their people.
Okay.
Right, that's the number one thing I focus on is culture, elevating the people in the business, and inspiring the entrepreneurs and business owners to become great leaders.
Awesome, brother. Love that. So let's take it back to the beginning. Where did your entrepreneurial journey actually start? Like, where were you before everything?
I mean, my original entrepreneurial journey started when I was like 14 years old, man. Interestingly enough, I worked for my pops. My pops owned a gas station in Anacostia, D.C., which back then was the murder capital of the world, but he didn't pay me. So I was like, all right, well, how am I going to make money? So when I was in high school, I was at auto shop a lot, and my teacher let me open up a custom car stereo install business at school.
Oh, shit.
And so I dropped out of the majority of my classes and just did auto shop 5 periods a day, and I installed custom car stereos for all the rich kids.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's where it really started, man. And then when I was about 17, I actually took over the family business. And then when I was 22, I leased it to a management company. And then, I got an opportunity to get into tech sales and went down that path. But I was partying really hard, man. And by the time I was 21, like I was a raging alcoholic and drug addict.
Yeah.
So I was good at what I did, but I never applied myself. And when I was 23, I enlisted in the Army to go get some discipline and got hurt in training and came back out. And I just went back to tech sales. And then by the time I was 29, I got sober. It was just unbearable. My pops died, spiraled out of control, woke up handcuffed to a hospital bed. My mom staring at me. And I didn't drink or do drugs for 8.5 years. And then, I took that addictive personality and I put it into something good. By the time I was 32, I was an executive at a Fortune 100 tech company.
Let's slow down a little bit. So you got sober, and it was basically because you just hit rock bottom.
My first rock bottom.
Your first rock bottom. So, okay. What's the second rock bottom?
It's a little further on in the story.
A little further on? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So you're handcuffed to a hospital bed. Your mom's looking at you, and right then and there, you just decide, this is it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, bro, pretty much. But it wasn't that simple. Like, it was self-hate, humiliation, disgust with who I was, anger, resentment, rage, grief. It was those emotions that I harnessed to stay sober. And, my life in recovery today versus what it looked like then, I was never sober, man, because I had no emotional stability. I was just dry. And when you use all that negativity in your life, bro, there's really nothing that you can't do. But that's what it really boiled down to. My pops had died 7 months earlier. And while my pops was dying, my brother had suffered massive brain aneurysm. And it was like the hardest time of my family's life. Bro, it was to the point where my father was dying in my arms, and every time I gave him morphine, I'd drink the rest of the bottle myself.
Jesus.
That's how bad it was. And then the night before I quit for 8.5 years was the first time I let somebody put a needle in my arm.
Wow.
And then the next day I woke up handcuffed to a hospital bed with absolutely no recollection of anything I did.
Did they tell you what you did, or? No?
Nobody that was there, nobody that was with me was there at the hospital. Only people at the hospital was my mom and my sister. And to this day, I have no idea who told them, how they found out. But the way my mom looked at me it was enough self-disgust and hate.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then from there, where'd you end up going after that once you decided to be sober?
Bro, I just dedicated my life to being a different human being. Like, I hated that version of myself so much.
Yeah.
I vowed to do whatever it took to never be that guy again, ever. And that's where my ego was really born, bro. I believe ego stems primarily from insecurity and scarcity and lack. And a lot of us, especially us entrepreneurs and high-achieving people, man, a lot of us got that underdog chip on our shoulder mentality, which in actuality means that you believe the people who don't think you're good enough. Because if you're trying to prove them wrong, that means you think they're right.
Right.
And that's what I did. I want to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
More than anybody, I want to prove myself wrong because I believe they were right.
I think Alex Ramosi says that a key trait in most successful people is it's a contradictory of where they think that they're better at things than most people, but they also feel like they're also not good enough. So it's like two distinct urges driving, the entrepreneur just forward to be the best version of themselves because they know they are, but they also feel like they're not good enough, and they're always chasing that new level, that new level of success, that new destination.
100%. 100%. And that's how I was for so long. When you think about that, bro, like I'll use this analogy. The GOAT, Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Was the last pick in the draft. Nobody thought he was good enough. Nobody.
Yeah.
And he turned into the GOAT because he was maniacal. Nothing else mattered to him other than being the best because everyone thought he was the worst.
Yeah.
Do you think Tom Brady feels any satisfaction in his life?
I think looking back now, I mean, I'm sure he still wants more.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
That's the problem when you have those levels of aspirations when we try to prove to ourselves, like, I know I can, but I don't believe I am. I know I can, but I don't believe I am.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we do,
We're always
it's
in that
never
state.
good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
More. And for me, bro, it was like, I got no education. I had to go to night school to graduate from high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had to graduate with the summer school kids, and I became a Fortune 100 executive with no education.
And let's get into that. How do you transfer into that position? Like, how did you get to that point?
What we just talked about, bro. Knowing I could, but not believing I was good enough to do it. I just dedicated my life to work, man. For the first time ever, I manifested something positive for my addictive personality. Right? Like I said, man, I knew I was an addict when I was 21, 22 years old. But I got a chance to go to a startup, and I'll never forget one of the owners. He told me, hey, man, the only reason I hired you is because you're a veteran, and I think veterans deserve chances. Let's see what you can do. And this relationship I had with him was volatile, bro. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like we would literally get in physical fights in the office in front of everybody. But that man challenged me. He was cutthroat with me, but he actually did believe in me more than I believed in myself. Now, I got that opportunity before I got sober, and he just rode me. Now, I got sober while I was there, and I learned from him and his partner, man. They took this company in 4 years from inception to sale, sold it for $250 million in 4 years. Wow. And I got to experience the way that they think and operate every single day. And the biggest thing I always do, man, is I'm always learning. I don't care who you are. If I'm with you, I'm learning from you, whether it's what to do or what not to do, how you impact people negatively or positively. And I learned about how to build rapid, successful businesses from business perspective with those guys. And I learned how to never be the type of leaders they were. So I absorbed their business acumen, and I pushed away their leadership capabilities because of the quality of life everyone in that business had.
So let's get into the actual positive assets that you took away from them growing their business, and what were the distinctive things that you saw that you knew that I don't want to be a leader like that. You know what I mean? But also go into their leadership and how they ran things. You know what I mean? Because if they didn't perform the way they did, I don't think the business would have got to where it got. You know what I mean? So let's hear a little bit about those things.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The number one thing, keep it simple. Everything about the business was simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the level of autonomy that the salesperson had to get a deal done. There was nothing complex with our contracts. There was nothing complex about our sales cycle. There was nothing complex about our pitches. There was nothing complex about our product. Everything was simple. Like if you were a customer that called me, I had the autonomy and authority to create any kind of deal I wanted with you, because the objective was growth, sequential quarter over quarter growth.
What was the actual like service or product that you guys were
Backup
selling?
and disaster recovery software. And everything about the business was simple, but their goal was always to sell. It was never to build the brand, build the business. The whole strategy from inception was exit. And this was in the middle of the recession.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we were the 63rd fastest growing company in the country in the height of the recession.
Wow.
And it was just cutthroat.
Yeah.
It was cutthroat, bro. The level of anxiety that everybody had, and it was like, if you don't perform, like, you're out. And to the point, like, if you walked in 1 minute late and they made a start at 7 a.m., if you walked in 1 minute late, you had to dance in front of everybody. You had to do push-ups in front of everybody. It was like public humiliation.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm just sitting there like, yo, how do you treat people like that, man? Like, there was parts of it that was fun as hell, man. But then there was other parts that's like, yo, where's the humanity in it? Where's the empathy in it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I want to preface this. I have tremendous respect for both of them. They didn't give me the shot they gave me, and they didn't teach me how to survive in high-pressure environments, and they themselves didn't get stressed out in those environments. Like, I'm not bashing by any means, because I learned so much. Everything about them, I took something away from.
Right.
Whether it was positive, what to do or what not to do. And to this day, man, like, I don't know, maybe it was 4 years ago, I had my boy, and he ultimately fired me when I was sober too. I had him come do a keynote speech for my entire organization, because I still have tremendous respect for him.
Yeah.
It's the guy who, you know, was like, I didn't know I hired a little schoolgirl, and then I stormed into his office and we got in a fight.
Yeah.
That same guy, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, he cared. Like, but the pressures, the stresses, they let it get to them, and they passed it down the chain of command.
How do you think they could have handled things differently?
You show up with intentional energy. You don't bring that level of stress, that level of anxiety, that level of anger. You don't bring the stuff that's happening in your personal life and everything else into the office.
Right.
You got a intentional, energetic presence. You know, there's this book called Contagious Culture by Anise Kavanaugh, and that's literally what it all talks about. You put on a completely different character when you walk through those doors.
Yeah.
Because when you're at that level of authority, you know, everything's about energy, bro. When you're at that level of authority and you have just powerful, negative, strong energy, nobody wants to come near you. If there's something wrong in the business, if there's a problem, and you walk in that state, you think anyone wants to come up to you and be like, we got a big problem. Nah, they're going to be like, don't go near him.
Yeah.
He's in one of those today. And it spreads. And then everybody else is tense, right? So when you've got a business where you've got a large quantity of employees in your office, like a culture,
Right.
you got to be very cognizant about that stuff, man.
Yeah.
You can, there's a fine line. And it's really an art form about high pressure environments with a balance of empathy and understanding and patience.
Yeah, it's more about like keeping a level head. Even though you have, the ship sinking, you still got to steer the ship into the right direction to get to land. You know what I mean? You can't let everyone freak out because if you're freaking out, then everyone's just gonna fucking die. You know what I mean?
100%, bro.
So, keeping that level head and keeping your emotional energy in check to still lead properly and get everyone to safety, that's definitely important in having that leadership role as a CEO and a business executive.
100%, bro. You're the most important persons out of all the energies in that room. Yours is the most important because yours dictates everybody else's.
Yeah.
Now, granted, again, like you said, bro, like 250 mil in 4 years. It worked.
Yeah.
At what cost, And for me, again, I learned so much, bro, so much. It was without a doubt the most valuable experience I ever had. And when I moved into leadership, I took my experiences there and created my own leadership style. And I focused, all right, so when you're in sales, the customer is the most important thing to you.
Yeah.
I believe when you are a people leader, your people are your number one customers.
Mm-hmm.
In order for the end user customer to be number one, you have to put the best people in front of them. And you as a leader are responsible for ensuring your people are at their best so they are the best for their customers.
Yeah.
So I always look at my people as my number one customers. Just like today, man, I look at my business owners, my entrepreneurs as my number one customers.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I leave, their employees only have them.
Right.
And so my entrepreneur and business owner is my number one customer. I work with the entire organization. It's all hands. Every employee of the company's got to be there. But that's how I look at it, man. I built everything on people. The quality of the life that I can create for my people. How am I growing their skills? How am I helping them have work-life balance? How am I supporting their dreams, their aspirations, their incomes, their family life, their mindset, their emotional regulation, right? That's everything I did was about my people.
Yeah, you take care of your people take care of the clients, and then in turn, the clients take care of you. Then it's just a vicious cycle of just massive growth.
Yeah.
Your energy is contagious, and you want to make sure you have the right energy in place to spread the right way, because you don't want, outside circumstances and the stress of running a business, because we know fucking business is war, and it comes, we got to show up every fucking day and go to battle. And we can't let that bleed into, our culture and stuff like
100%, man. And the greatest thing you can do is be honest.
Mm.
You can come in and be level-headed.
Yeah.
And talk about shit that's not going well. So you want your people to know where you're at. But if you're level-headed and you inspire them on how to weather the storm, that's where you get the organizational buy-in.
How do you balance being a leader and then being someone that your employees can kind of come to, almost like, is there like a friendship balance that you have with your employees and in your business? And how do you balance maintaining that leadership role but still keeping the friendship relationship there as well? Because I feel like it's almost kind of, when you give too much into the friendship, they stop looking to you as like a leader in a sense. That's just my thought process. Like they lose that kind of lose that authoritative state when you're too friendly. So how do you balance the leadership versus friendship?
Great question. So there's 4 types of leaders. You have affiliative, authoritative, coercive, and pace setter. There is a situation and a place for each type. Now, if you are in a state of turmoil in the business, a coercive or a pace setter leader style is effective, but only in short bursts. In my opinion, the greatest leaders understand when to be every single one of them. The top 2 most important are authoritative, which is very different than authoritarian. Authoritative and affiliative. Affiliative is the relationship aspect of leadership.
Right.
Authoritative is the trust in your ability. And if people have a relationship with you and you come in and you say, this is the strategy, this is the vision, this is where we're going, A, they respect and value who you are, which means they're going to be loyal to you and they're going to trust in your vision. And so the balance of affiliative and authoritative is the greatest lasting style of leadership you can. And the other reason that that's so important is because sometimes every leader has to be coercive and a pace setter. But if you've established the relationship and you've established the trust, they're not going to withdraw from you in a situation that's temporary. They're not going to view you as this coercive leader that's just forcing something upon them. They're going to know there's a reason for it. They're going to know it doesn't last. But if you don't build the relationship and the trust and you try to be a pace setter or coercive, you're going to lose people.
So you're saying build the relationship and the trust as the foundation, and
100%.
then establish the authority after?
No. First, it's a combination of both, man.
Okay.
The number one most important thing in leadership is communication. Your ability to effectively communicate, how you deliver your messages, the intentionality behind it, the process behind it, context, process, content. When you give people the why first instead of the what, people always want to challenge the what because they don't understand why you're asking them to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you explain why, it's a lot more easily received by people because normally it's like, hey, I need you to log every single one of these calls. You're like, man, I don't want to do that shit. But if you're like, look, we've got a gap in understanding our metrics. I don't want to make the wrong decision, guys. I really need to get the right data set. So I'm asking you to log all of this so I don't make the wrong decision that could make things even more difficult. That's why I need you to do it. And this is how we're going to make that happen.
Right.
You know, that difference.
And I think also adding in how it would affect them by that not doing it as well.
Exactly.
Not just like, oh, this is going to affect me and my decision making, but if I make a wrong decision, this is how it's going to affect the company and you 100%. And your future.
100%.
You know what I mean? So it's like they're involved in the decision making process as well. It's not just like, hey, I need you to do this because of this. I need you to do this because of this. And if this happens, then it'll affect you and everyone around us. So we're a team. We got to stick together. We got to, carry the boats together. We can't, carry, one guy just carry all the boats and all the logs and shit like that. We got to do this shit together because we're a fucking team. So I think that's super beneficial to add that little 100%, part in.
100%, man. So again, people have to trust your abilities. That's where the authoritative comes from, right? Because if you're saying this is the direction we're going in and why, that's the authoritative part. The affiliative part is also extraordinarily important. Going back to what I talked about before, because if somebody has a better or different perspective or approach than I do, but they don't feel like they've got a real relationship with me where they can present something very different to me, what does that mean for my business? That's one idea versus 10 ideas. If I got 10 direct leaders, if we've got the relationship, they're going to be far more likely to come to me and be like, yo, bro, I got an idea. I know this is how you talked about doing it this way, but I got this idea. I want to talk to you about it. That's why the relationship part's so important, man, right? And the key to any, like, as you go up in your levels of leadership, right? Because I started as a first line manager, then second, then third, then fourth, and then fifth. So I was at a level where I had vice presidents who had directors, who had managers, who had reps underneath them, right? And I think at one point I had like 50 leaders in my organization, and I needed to make sure every single one of them, if there was something happening that they found a solution to that was different than what we were already doing, would come to me and present it to me. And that's where the brand comes in. Now, I'll put it like this, bro. In my first leadership position at Oracle, which is where I went to after that startup, I was the bottom of the totem pole manager. There are reps I had from that position who, up until I left my last role at a different company, rode with me the whole way. When I left the Big O to go somewhere else, every one of my leaders went with me.
And how do you establish that relationship with them to just follow you to the next venture?
Bro, I trusted them. They trusted me. I dedicated myself to them, to elevating their life, to building their skill sets, to creating a career path to them, to empowering them to change the life of their families.
Yeah.
I dedicated it, and I kept my word. I wasn't all talk. I kept my word, and they all rode with me.
And what'd you guys end up doing when you guys left?
Oh, bro, we went to a competitor, and so I was running a $250 million a year business at the Big O.
Mm-hmm.
I ran North American government inside sales, and we went to a competitor. Well, a competitor sought me out, and I was basically like, nah. And they were like, why not? And I was like, because I'm not leaving my people. I'm great at what I do because of the team that I built. This is my family.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want me, you got to go get more money and bring them along.
Yeah.
And so they came back, and they were like, all right, we got a deal. Well, you and your lieutenants first, your vice presidents, and then we'll start, anyone else who wants to come, they'll come over a little bit afterwards. And when I pulled up in there, it was about a $7 million a year business. And within 24 months, it was $72 million, all because of my leadership team.
That's amazing.
Bruh, I surround myself with people who are exceptionally better than me in certain areas. I'm an inspirational and influential and impactful strategic thinking leader. I'm not operational. I'm not process. That's not me, man.
You're a visionary.
I brought in those people because I wanted to put them in roles where they were excellent. And it's not like, look, man, you ain't just at your level. You're doing things at 2-3 levels above you. And what do you think is going to happen when a new role opens up in the organization? You've already been doing the job.
Right.
You're the most qualified person. And so everyone in my leadership organization had decision-making authority and trust. And these are to this day some of the closest people in my life.
So you left Oracle, went on to the competitor, and then where did you guys go from there?
That's where the story gets spicy, bro.
Okay, let's hear it, brother.
That's where it all fell apart.
Oh, shit.
That's where it all fell apart. Because going back to some of the things I was talking about, man, I made many mistakes in my life.
What are some of those mistakes?
Not putting myself first, not healing, not
What did you need to heal from?
my entire life. My childhood, the loss of my father, relationships, abuse, everything that any human being needs. Those are the things that create how we think, how we view the world.
It's who we are.
It's not the 99 good things that happen to us. It's the one bad thing that happens to us that ultimately drives the choices we make.
Well, it's how we react to those bad things that make us who we are. 99 good things, that one bad thing, but it's how we react to it that determines where we go and who we are and who we become. So who did you have to become to get through that?
I had to become the man God created me to be, and I was a godless man.
How did you find God?
In my own personally created hell on earth, the depths of despair, the lowest point of my life. I called out to God for the first time. I said, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your name is, but I beg you to save my life. And Jesus Christ answered in an extraordinarily profound way that literally stopped me from committing suicide.
What was the situation that you were in that caused you to even think about ending your life?
So again, bro, I want to take it back to those emotions I used to become successful. I harnessed I have feed the pain tattooed across my stomach. I harness pain and suffering.
Yeah.
No matter what I achieved, if I'm using pain and suffering to harness all of it, where is my joy? On the outside, I had everything people would ever want in life. People looked up to me. People trusted me. People came to me for everything. I was a comeback story. I was sober, this, that. I was a millionaire. Like, I had a wife, children. I had it all. But I used pain and suffering to obtain all of it. And at the end of the day, what we don't realize is, for the most part, man, it's that little child inside of us that makes all of our choices. Your inner child shows up more than who you are today in your thoughts, in your choices, in your actions. And I never took care of that little dude. He wasn't taken care of, and the only person he could have ever counted on to take care of him was me, and I never did.
What were some of the things that you used to fix the turmoil inside?
First, bro, I had to die. Who I was, everything I knew, everything I believed, I had to die. And it wasn't until I walked away from everything, bro. You know, going back to what you had asked me about, you know, what happened when we all went over there. I was going through a divorce. I had also started another company. I was an executive. I'm 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Literally for 2 years straight, I was 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to be a husband, trying to be a father, a leader, and an entrepreneur. And all I'm using inside of me is hatred and anger towards myself. And my marriage started going south. And when my marriage started going south, I couldn't use that pain and anger anymore. The sorrow took over it. The resentment took over it. And I relapsed. After 8.5 years of sobriety, I relapsed. And within 45 days, I burned my life to the ground. And I told you it took me waking up handcuffed to a hospital bed to quit drinking and drugging for 8.5 years. Within 45 days of picking back up, I woke up chained and handcuffed to a hospital bed again, with my skull cracked open, with no recollection of what happened.
Do you know after the fact?
Yeah, I've had to do a lot of work to go back to that point. And then I got sober for 3 weeks, and it happened again. Woke up chained and handcuffed to a hospital bed, except this time it was in a room full of cops. And every time I wake up like that, it's always the same question I say first. Did I hurt anybody? And this time they were like, well, you tried to fight 13 cops. And I was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
A lot of trouble. For the first time in my life, I had never been arrested before in my life. And, you know, I've got it all. I've got the career. I've got the brand. I got the reputation. I got the money. And I'm like, what if anybody finds out? Because at the end of the day, you know, they asked me to do something that I refused to do. And as a result, they said there was going to be additional consequences if I didn't do what they wanted me to. And I said, I understand. And so it was much worse because I made that choice. And I came home from jail, and that's when I dropped to my knees. That's when I called out to God. And I was so afraid of what was going to happen. What if people found out? What if it got out? I'm going to lose everything. I wasn't even thinking about what if I go to prison.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what if people find out. I cared so much about what people thought of me. That is what gave me my self-worth, which meant I had no self-worth. It was only what people thought of me that mattered to me.
Right.
And bro, you know, I called out to God. I told you Jesus answered. A Bible verse was revealed to me because I looked at the time on the TV and I Googled that Bible verse, and it saved my life.
What was the Bible verse?
Matthew 10:26-30. Do not be afraid. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing concealed that will not be made known. There is nothing hidden that will not come to light. Do not fear the ones who can break the mind and body here. What I whisper to you, shout in the day. What I tell you in the night, proclaim from the roof. Do not be afraid. I didn't really understand what it meant other than the fact that I was riddled with fear. And then the next day, my mugshot was all over the news. I was viral on social media. The whole world knew. I remember what the officer said to me about, you know, if you own guns, I get rid of them. So the first thing I thought about was going to get my gun. And then I remember that Bible verse. There is nothing concealed that will not be made known. There is nothing hidden that will not come to light. But do not be afraid of the ones who can break the mind and body. He told me, hey, your biggest fear is going to come true. It's all going to come out.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to know. But don't be afraid of them. I got you. And then, you know, it took 3 more years before I fully submitted to the Lord for me to really realize what that Bible verse meant. I didn't think about the last part of it. What I tell you, proclaim from the roof. What I whisper, shout in the day. And that was my life's calling.
So what did that exactly mean to you?
You're going to testify. What I did for you, you're going to share so I can do for others. How you came to me, others need to come to me. I'm the light, I'm the way, I'm the only solution. It wasn't like you're going to go be a pastor or you're going to be a preacher. That's not how I'm built. But you're going to share your story.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
And that's what I dedicate on that's what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome, brother.
You know?
Had a slightly different come to Jesus moment. But
what was it?
Told the story a couple times. It's kind of crazy. So, I mean, growing up, I was always agnostic. I didn't really believe, I believed that there was a higher power, but I didn't believe in a specific God. Sold drugs. I did that for a majority of my youth, on and off, and just had a friend, and this is like part one of like the come to Jesus moment. You know, he would talk to Lucifer, and I was selling drugs out of his house when he was on house arrest. I left some ecstasy at his house and went to go sell some weed. Left, came back. He had taken some of the ecstasy. He said, Lucifer wants to talk to you. Take some with me. So I took some with him. And then like 30 minutes later, he's like, Lucifer wants you to know that if you continue to do what you're doing, you know, you're going to get arrested. It's going to be for weed, but you're going to be okay. But unless you change this is going to happen. I was like, what the fuck is Lucifer trying to tell me that? Why is he trying to warn me of what I'm doing? Like, it didn't make any sense. There are other situations where he told girls that they were pregnant before they even knew, and then they found out, and they said, oh, it's a boy. I can look up that girl and ask her right now. That really happened.
Oh, I believe you.
And, you know, a year later from the day that he told me, I got arrested for weed. You know, it was a misdemeanor. But it happened the exact same day when we got arrested together. And fucking, it's crazy. I remember he looked at me. I was drunk as hell. He looked at me. He's like, you know what day it is? And even though I was intoxicated as hell, I knew what he meant.
Yep.
Because I remembered that conversation a year before. Part one. I was like, okay, if Lucifer's real, something, you know what I mean? That happened. That's crazy. Part two is there was a point in my life, in my family's life, where everything was going wrong. Everything. My mother had an object in her throat that they didn't know what it was. Financially, everything was going bad. Everything was just horrible within our family. My father went to go get a priest and bless our homes in Colombia. He had a rosary wrapped around his arm, throwing holy water everywhere. And he put his arm around a pillow and said, something's in here, open this pillow. Fucking, I opened the pillow. My dad has this on camera. He has the SD card. He showed me when we were younger, but he never wanted me to tell my mom about it. He didn't want to scare her. There was a severed penis inside the pillow with money stuffed in salts and a curse written on the money. It was black magic. And he found out later
I got chills, bro, because I've experienced the black magic, bro. I got chills.
Yeah. Fucking, he found out later that his ex had cursed his love and his financial life. And that wasn't it. There was other totems and like objects that they found to curse our family in the apartment and then on our farm as well. The farm wasn't the ex. It was one of the neighbors that cursed the land because he thought the other neighbor was going to buy it up. And he just didn't have the money, so he didn't want to share the land or whatever. But we ended up buying it and inheriting whatever curse, you know, they put on us on the land. And after I saw a fucking severed penis and money and salts and a curse written on it, and it actually affected our family, but after it was dispelled, everything, the object went away, life started getting better for us. It's like, if the devil's real, so is God. That was my come to Jesus moment, you know? And it's a crazy fucking story. Every time I tell it, people are like, what the fuck?
I believe you 100%.
But, you know, I tell this to, you know, because, like, we're from different cultures where that's more prevalent. Here in America, you know, you talk about black magic and stuff like that. You know, I had a conversation with a couple, like, white guys and stuff like that. They're like, wow, they can't fathom it.
Bro, it's prevalent. People are just ignorant to it.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many witches in this country, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I have known many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. On Valentine's Day 2020, at my house, my nanny, who was my guardian angel, God brought her into my life to bring me to him. She walked outside my backyard and started screaming at the top of her lungs. And she's from Ethiopia, where there's also a lot of witchcraft and dark magic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And she was like, don't come anywhere near it. And I'm like, what is it? She was like, it's a sacrificed animal. And so the organs and the intestines of an animal were laid out into my yard in the shape of a heart on Valentine's Day, so that all the love in my life would be taken from me.
Yeah.
And that I know exactly who. It was 2 people.
Who the fuck did that?
2 women I wronged.
Oh, so kind of double dipping, and it was the wrong double dip to double dip. Fuck it.
You know, but when you're at that
Yeah.
point in your life, I didn't even look at it as double dipping. I didn't even think I was doing anything wrong. You're not my girlfriend. You're not my girlfriend. I can do whatever I want. I turned into a despicable human being when I relapsed. The worst of me came out, man.
Yeah.
The worst of me. You know, I told you, even when I was sober, I was using all that self-hate, disgust. It never left.
Yeah.
And I became the worst imaginable version of myself when I relapsed, man. There was nothing respectable about me, but I was completely blind to it. But anyways, bro, it worked, you know. Every relationship in my life within 2 years was I lost custody of my children. I'm a father of 2 boys with autism, the most important thing in my world to me. And I lost custody of my kids, and that's when I dropped to my knees for the second time in my life. I had my AR-15 at the foot of my painting of Jesus, and it was one of 2 things at that moment. It was the AR-15, or it was him. And I said, Lord, I can't pull the trigger. I can't do that to my sons. I can't end it like this. So instead, will you kill me? I beg you to kill me, Lord. End my life. I'm lost in the darkness. Satan has me. I can't get out. Take my life. And he did. He took complete control of my life. I told you how many different bottoms I had. By the grace of God Almighty, that was the last bottom I've had, because it took that. Look, I mean, he saved my life, and it still took 2.5 more years before I gave my life to him. And bro, for almost 2 years, I walked away from my career. I took a medical leave of absence. Bro, I'm diagnosed bipolar, manic, depressive disorder, chronic PTSD, severe general anxiety, all this stuff. I was on so many substance abuse disorder, on so many meds, bro. All these meds plus just ounces of coke, booze, just, bro, I ain't taking medication in 2 years.
That's awesome.
God is my medication. Prayer is my medication. Meditation is my medication.
Yeah, man.
Those are all labels for somebody who doesn't have God.
Yeah.
And bro, it was in that 2 years, like I went to rehab. I started doing AA, because when I got sober the first time, man, I did it by myself. That's how powerful that negativity was. And you think about it, bro. Who was giving me that strength? Who was giving me that strength with that hatred inside of me?
Oh, yeah.
Who was it?
Yeah.
And what was his purpose? So he could take it all away. So he could destroy me with it. Tease me with giving me everything in the world I ever wanted, and then rip it all away from me so he could destroy me.
Fuck, dude.
Bro, the inner, like, because you were like, when you realized Satan was real, you realized God was real.
Yeah.
For me, it was when I realized God was real, I realized Satan was real. Bro, like, from the youngest of ages, all my memories are of snakes, the serpent. My first memory in life is of a serpent. And I've had these visions, like visions of Satan manifesting in so many different ways, as a snake, as a dragon, as people.
You know,
Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy, brother, because I was an alcoholic when I was younger. I was like full-blown alcoholic, getting blacked out drunk like every fucking week. And I remember, it's crazy you said like you see like, you know, snakes and demonic. Like whenever I remember when at that period of time, it wouldn't happen all the time, but before I would go to bed in that phase of my life, I would get massive anxiety right before I fell asleep, and I would see demonic dead beings, like, and then it would shock me, and I would wake up and I'd be looking around, and I'd feel like this presence that was just so negative, so just powerful, and it was just like, fuck, what the fuck was that? all right, let me just think of fucking Barney or some shit so I can just like reset my mind to my childhood like innocence to where I can put myself in a state to where I can fall asleep peacefully. It was, and I would have to do that over and over and over because it wouldn't happen all the time, but it would happen frequently enough to where you just like unlocked a memory that I had because you said that you kept seeing those things. But man, one time I overdid it with the alcohol. My dad had to give me a shot of something to calm me down because my anxiety. I was puking up stomach acid. My heart rate was going crazy, and he had to give me a shot of I forget what the hell it was.
EpiPen.
It was like something to just kind of almost to put me to sleep, just because like if I didn't go to sleep and I didn't calm down, I was gonna fucking like my heart was gonna explode. It was insane, and I just remember saying like, I never want to feel this again. I never want to feel this again. And I still struggled. Like I moderated my alcohol use after that point. And I'm proud to say like last year, I remember I was out at Poppy State closing a business transaction and I had one drink. And that one drink brought me so much anxiety, so much like uneasiness before I was going to bed. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I've been sober ever since.
That's amazing, bro.
Been sober ever since.
It's amazing, brother.
Like, I used to like get these little mild urges back in that day where I would barely ever drink. I would just get this little urge to just go out to a nice restaurant, have a nice drink and a nice meal and have good company. And that was like my thing. That was like my treat to myself. I would just go out to a nice restaurant, tequila, nice steak, good company. That was it. And I would just get these urges to go do that. Ever since that night after Poppy Steak, I don't have any urge to drink ever again. Ever
That's
again.
amazing, bro.
Yeah, dude. It's fucking...
Just be careful, man. Devil will creep up on you. All of a sudden, one day, 2 years from now, you're like, it's been 3 years, man. One drink won't hurt. And it's going to be the exact same thing again.
I'm pretty confident that I've built up a mental fortitude in my mind to where I don't need alcohol anymore. I care more about my health and my wellness. I want to have longevity. I want to have 20 fucking kids running around ruling this fucking earth. You know what I mean? Like I want a fucking army of little Bermudas taking over businesses, changing the world for the better. Because I want to implement like my morals and principles into their lives. And
hey, man, that's our most important role in life as godly men.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny. When I got divorced, I was like, I don't want no more children. F that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bro, give me as many as you want me to have, Lord.
Yeah.
I want a little army of them.
Yeah.
You know, I hear you, man. Yeah, dude. I mean, to this day, bro, like the devil comes at me all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
The closer you are to Lord, the more anxiety he gets. And the more anxious he gets, the harder he works. You know, and I pray to be covered in the blood and the armor every day. I pray never to fall into the grips of him again. I pray for my faith never to waver every single day, man. Every day. Because when you dedicate your life to doing what God calls you to do, you're pissing Satan off more than ever.
Yeah. He's working overtime to come get you.
Overtime.
Yeah.
Overtime. Bro, sometimes I'll be praying and all of a sudden the pentagram will show up in front of me.
Mm.
And so I have to replace it with an image of Jesus, an image of the cross, and just be like, you can do whatever you want. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
You know, I'm covered in the blood. Come at me. But like it you know, it happens all the time, man. It happens all the time, especially because he had such a grip over guys like you and me for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So long. Bro, I've had situations where I've seen the demons, like, you know, there's demons attached
Oh, yeah.
to a lot of people. There was demons attached to me. There was demons attached to you. I've seen demons attached to people. I've seen the faces of the demons attached to them.
I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was younger, I was a badass motherfucking kid, dude. My parents had a priest perform an exorcism on me. I didn't take it serious. Like, I didn't take it seriously at all. You know what I mean? But I was so bad that they had a priest perform an exorcism on me. And at the time, I didn't think I was that bad. I thought I was just a kid just doing dumb shit and just fucking going crazy. As the priest is performing an exorcism on me, I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like laughing. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is this? But like, then I'm like, I'm looking back. That was the fucking demon laughing at the priest, you know? And it's crazy because I was like, this shit's not real. Like, this shit's not real. Like, I was still not fully faith driven at that point in time in my life. But like looking back, I was like, I felt that way because I was still possessed, you know? And it was fucking crazy. Like spirituality and religion and everything like that is fucking crazy.
Bro, once you have a true spiritual experience, you never look at life the same again. And you know what's wild, bro? I say this all the time. If me 5 years ago was listening to you and I talk right now, I'd be like, those are the two most batshit, insane MFers I have ever heard in my entire life. They are delusional and they belong in an asylum.
You got to go through it to understand, though.
100%, man.
And
that's also the thing, too, is like some people, you just accept, like, you just ain't ready. You just aren't there. For me to try to explain things to you is a waste of time because you're just not prepared. You're so blind. You're so ignorant. You're so closed off. Because we're all created for one purpose, but we're all conditioned to be sheep. All of us, man, we conform to societal norms. We're all created uniquely, but all we want to do because of society is fit in. Instead of being who we were uniquely created to be, society tells us to be like everybody else. None of us even know who we truly are. If you cannot connect with creation, with source, with divinity, with God, bro, you're just a sheep. Yeah. I was a sheep for a long time, man. Bro, like all those things you and I chased, I chased everything to fill the void inside me, man.
Yeah.
But the only thing that can fill a God-sized void is God. Drugs, money, alcohol, woman, prostitution, all of it. I did all of it, man. Mm-hmm. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. I was using all the devil's pleasures to try to fill the void that only the light could fill inside of me. But now, bro, the spirituality I have, the conscious contact with God that I have, the visions I have, the downloads I get, being that yoked, bruh, that's a euphoria, that's a high that no substance can ever give you. And I swear, bro, that first year where I was really like, you know what's funny, man? When I took that leave of absence, and I just rehab, then extended care, intense therapy, just everything. And I moved into a cabin in the woods in the middle of Connecticut with my dog, and it was a witch's cabin.
Fucking crazy.
I moved in, and there was an altar and the bones, the black candles, the books, the Ouija board, like the rocks, the stars, like all of it. And my first night there, bro, when I laid down, I felt the demon on top of me. And I just started praying. And for the first time in my life, I started speaking in tongues.
What the fuck?
And I was like, what just happened? And I thought that maybe I was going insane. But then the next day, all that energy was gone. I felt nothing in that place. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, it was while I was out there that I had met a white witch.
Why'd you go to a fucking witch's cabin?
I didn't know it was, bro.
But like, so
it was the only place around. So when I finished living at the extended care place, okay, I wanted to continue working with all my therapists, my acupuncturists, all the healers in my life.
Yeah.
And it was the one place available for rent.
Okay. So it was your only option.
It was my only option.
And still just had all that shit just laying out?
Bro, it was all out there. And listen to this, too. The guy who rented it to me, he's a documentary filmmaker. He spent 10 years of his life focused on the son of Sam, who was the serial killer who said he was possessed by Satan, who came to him in the form of a dog. Mm-hmm. He dedicated 10 years of his life to creating that documentary and researching that. You think maybe he was a Satanist?
Probably a little bit. You know what I mean?
Bro, people sleep on how much evil there is in this world.
But that's the thing, brother. Like, the mission and the vision that we're on, it's because God doesn't call the qualified.
No.
He qualifies the called.
Yep.
And I know me and you are definitely called to be qualified, because we wouldn't be here, sitting here right now, talking about this if we weren't.
100%.
You know?
100%, man. It's the sinners who have the greatest capacity to answer the calling. The greatest of the sinners.
And he uses the sinners as examples for his
Who did
teachings.
Jesus Christ surround himself with?
Yeah,
Scoundrels, thieves, prostitutes.
exactly.
Those were his people.
Yeah, man. I'm brother. I'm so blessed and grateful that I made the decisions that I did. I don't regret one thing.
Nope.
I'm not proud of who I was, but I don't regret one thing that I went through because it led me up to this point and made me the man I am today. And my mission right now is to share these stories with as many people as possible. And not just the spirituality, but just the stories of like the triumph of going through hell to get to the other side in entrepreneurship. I want people to have more faith in themselves, but also I still want that mission of spreading the word of God as much as possible, because without him, I wouldn't be here today.
Same, brother. 100% the same.
We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have been at Eric's mastermind yesterday if we weren't called.
We would not. It's not if we weren't called. It's if we didn't choose to answer the call.
No.
Because we're all called, brother. Every single one of us is called.
Yeah.
Very few of us answer the calling. There's not a human being on earth who hasn't felt a calling to pursue something, to pursue someone, to do something.
What do you think? What do you think what holds people back from answering the call?
They don't know who it is that's calling because they don't know about God. Bruh, people only exist in this physical world for the most part. Spirituality does not exist in this three-dimensional construct. We have mind, body, and spirit. The Holy Trinity is three beings. We're made in the image of God. We're three beings.
Yeah.
We are mind, body, spirit. And I'm a woo-woo Christ follower, my G. I don't believe in traditional religion and traditional interpretations. I view God as the mind. I view Jesus as the body. I view the spirit as the spirit. And you look at the human mind, the thing it represents more than anything is the construct of the universe. And people talk about the universe being God. No, man. The universe is just the mind of God. And if we're created in the image of God and our mind looks like the universe, Jesus Christ is the body. The Bible refers to wisdom and gender. That gender is female. And so if we're made in the image of God and the Holy Spirit, the mind, the body, the spirit. And so that's the feminine. Each and every one of us has masculine and feminine inside of us. And if you don't channel both and they're both not in harmony, then you cannot truly be spiritually yoked because you don't have the capacity to be open enough to receive divinity. And like you asked me a question earlier I didn't fully answer, like how did you pursue? Bro, I connect with God in so many different ways, but I had to go through so many different modalities to have the capacity to receive his messages. I went through this one experience in acupuncture, and I think it was called like the ghost shadow protocol. And my practitioner, she told me, she was like, this is the hardest core thing I can do for you. And it was 2 needles under my thumbnails, 2 needles in the corners of the inner sides of my eyes, and 1 needle in the middle of my forehead.
What the fuck?
And she jammed the last one in there, bro. And I felt a force I had never felt before in my life. And it cleansed me of everything that was inside of me that was blocking the divine channel. I went from screaming at the top of my lungs to hysterically crying to laughing uncontrollably. And right after that happened, bro, the things that were flowing inside of my mind that were coming to me, like God spoke directly. Like I heard the voice of God.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking nuts.
I heard the voice of God.
Like
Meditation, hypnosis, bro. Like I'm woo-woo, bro. I hope 90% of the people listening to this think I'm crazy. Because that means 10% of the people will actually do something with what I'm talking about.
Right.
I care more about the willing than the unwilling. And dude, like When I look at you, I don't just see you. I see a spiritual dimension behind you, through you, in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've spent so long going to this place where I connect with God. I call it God's majestic grace. And it's my spiritual self. It's where I exist spiritually, where I'm constantly connecting with God. It's his kingdom.
I think we're running a little bit late on time, brother, but I love the conversation that we've had. Before we hop off, drop your Instagram handle and 3 books that you recommend everyone reading.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Okay. My IG is my first name dot last name. It's TAREK _ Chaudhry, CHAUDHARY.
Okay.
3 books I think every human being should read. Most transformative, impactful book of my entire life, the Bible.
Of course.
Number 2 is a book called The Go-Giver.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's one of my favorite books ever. And the 3rd is Extreme Ownership.
Oh, Jocko. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Those 3 books, if you read those 3 books and you do everything those 3 books tells you, you will live a life beyond your wildest imagination.
Awesome, brother. Well, I love the conversation.
Me too, man.
It was great meeting you, brother.
Likewise, bro.